west of Austria marks a... Looking east, the icy peaks of Tyrol spread to the horizon. To the west lies the province of Vorarlberg, once part of another continent. The rivers of this mountain send their waters to oceans far apart, the Black Sea and the North Sea. Up here, land cultivated for centuries borders on raw wilderness. Today, visitors from many countries mix on the Arlberg's powdery slopes. But for the locals, the Arlberg has been a border between contrasting ancient dialects since tribal day, appreciation of the hidden beauties of their land. Our knowledge that the Arlberg is rich. The Arlberg? Actually, there isn't any particular peak or crest or rock formation of that name. The term Arlberg Pass is a modern invention. The region thus named could be defined by its major villages: St. Anton, St. Christoph, Stuben, Zuers and Lech. These used to be remote mountain villages, romantically picturesque but of little importance. But in the early 20th century came a dramatic change. The rich and the beautiful discovered this stunning mountain scenery as a perfect winter playground. The impact of tourism first transformed the eastern slopes, the Tyrolean side. The west, Vorarlberg, soon followed suit. The little village of Lech turned into an elegant ski resort. It all began in 1901 with the foundation of the Arlberg Ski Club. 20 years later, the region's first skiing school was founded, making the Arlberg the cradle of alpine skiing. Whether it was laced boots and leather strap bindings, or whether it's high-tech gear, the enthusiasm for skiing has been boundless ever since. But it's not just two-legged creatures on one or two boards who occupy these slopes. Just over the next ridge from the ski runs, hardly a stone's throw away from the sporting crowds, the wild inhabitants of the mountains are spending the winter. Sheer rocks are not for skiers. They're the domain of chamois and ibex. In the height of winter, the mothers and their young seek out wind-swept mountaintops where the vegetation lies bare. In this season, the bucks come to join the flocks of females. The males have a strict and simple hierarchy. The big ones with the big horns dominate the smaller ones. Such sparring among the bucks isn't serious. Their hierarchy has been established long ago, back in summer. If the temperament of two young bucks should ever get out of hand, an older male would quickly intervene. In the cold weather, with sparse food resources, the entire herd would suffer if the males wasted their energy with infighting. Ibex are really a peaceful lot. In terms of climate and weather, the Arlberg is in an exposed position. Every storm front arriving from the Atlantic is stopped by this barrier. The clouds pile up and drop enormous loads of snow. Eurasian siskins spend the cold months in large flocks. Along the timber line they find tree seeds all winter long. Red deer herds prefer sheltered valleys to escape the onslaught of snow. In the western valleys, the average annual snow cover is 7 to even 8 meters. Up in St. Anton, it's about half of that. And in the higher valleys, the annual average is an incredible 14 meters. On the lee side of the ridges is where the snow really piles up. For the chamois, cutting across such slopes is not just tedious, they're risking their lives. Cautiously, an experienced female makes a track. The younger members of the flock follow, always mindful to keep the number of individuals in the danger zone to a minimum. The mother with the smallest kids goes last. Often the chamois have to enter risky slopes to get to their grazing. In the old days, mountain farmers took the same risk to get hay for their livestock.
Mit weißem Pelz überzieht der Winter die Landschaft.
It's the snow that enables the farmers to get the hay on which their livestock depends.
Ohne Heu keine Viehzucht. Unter Lebensgefahr fährt man die kostbare Last auf Tannenreisig zu Tal.
On fir tree branches, the precious load slides downhill. On level ground, the hay is packed on sleds and pulled to the village.
Werden die Fuhren auf Kufen umgeladen und in das Dorf gezogen.
Though lifestyles may have changed since then, the wind hasn't. When storm gusts whirl up the snow, they pulverize the brittle snow crystals. The wind blows the snow over long distances, creating a new landscape. This snow has 3 times the weight of fresh powder and builds huge precarious drifts along the ridges. Often, a slight trigger is enough to send tons and tons of snow thundering downhill. The people of the Arlberg have always had to live with the forces of nature. Since the late 19th century, structures like this gallery have offered protection against avalanches, but such measures have often proved insufficient. In the valleys too, masses of snow have always posed a challenge. In the past, elbow grease was the only remedy. Later, heavy machinery did the job. Back in the mountains above the village of Lech, there's a strange landscape feature, fully revealed only from the air. Like discarded egg cartons, some 1,000 craters dot the surface. The biggest of these dolines is 100 meters across and 35 meters deep. It was created by a special form of erosion. Water made the gypsum in the rock expand. The surrounding rock crumbled and was eventually washed away by the rain. In the winter, this landscape with its many edges and craters and its labyrinth of snow-covered Swiss mountain pines is a perfect hideaway for wildlife. It's a permanent haunt of ptarmigans, together with chamois. They find food in places where small avalanches have exposed the ground. Avalanches, in other words, not only bring destruction and death, but also opportunities. Without them, the snow blanket would cut off the animals from food for many months. Ptarmigans can make do with very little, digesting even small, tough branches and getting the maximum energy from their frugal diet. Overnight and around midday, the birds bury themselves in the deep snow to escape the wind. Winter in the mountains can be tough indeed, but when it's really cold and the air is clear, the frosty season displays its full glory. fresh snow has covered the heights, sending the chamois downhill to sheltered places. Days are getting longer and the sun is gaining in strength, quickly loosening winter's grip. The trickle and murmur of water is everywhere. Water and warmth bring to light the first messengers of spring. Snowbells shoot from the thawing ground. These flowers are perfectly adapted to the extreme conditions up here, and beneath the snow, something is moving. The marmots have awoken from hibernation. For more than 6 months they slept in their burrows, depending on their fat reserves. Now it's time for a hearty breakfast. From its hide, a ptarmigan is watching. Further down the slope, a black grouse male on a lek is trying to attract females. Any intruder on the lek will be confronted. The intruder seems to respect his rival's superior strength. It's mid-June. Spring arrives late up here. But now, on clear days, the sun is powerful and quickly melts the last remnants of snow and ice. Small rivulets now turn into powerful torrents. Color is returning to the banks. Alpen roses, crane's bills, and pasque flowers line the mountain streams. But what about the many ski runs? For 70 years, tens of thousands of skiers have been compacting the snow, and for 35 years, more and more artificial snow has been added. The answer is surprising. Above the village of Lech, ski runs have turned into a sea of flowers. Just recently, botanists have counted more than 30 plant species per square meter, including rare protected plants like broad-leafed marsh orchid and the globe flower. All these flowers profit from regular mowing and grazing. In the shade of the forest edge, a rare botanical gem is found, the yellow lady's slipper. Its flower is surrounded by a so-called bract. To get to the nectar, insects squeeze into the bract and can leave it only through one opening. Since dead insects are often found beneath such plants, it was believed that the lady's slipper is a carnivorous plant. In fact, however, predatory spiders often lie in wait by the bract's exit, killing the insects and leaving their empty skins in the grass. In late spring, after the snowmelt, one of the sources of the Lech River is in Spate. Crystal clear water gushes from limestone rocks, and soon the creek grows into a small river. The Lech River has carved a deep canyon into the limestone. This is Europe's great continental divide. From here, the Lech, Rosanna and Mustal rivers flow towards the Black Sea, while the Flexen, Routes and Bregenz rivers end up in the North Sea. Along the ridges and crests of the Arlberg, it's decided whether a falling raindrop is sent on a long journey east or north.